It's no secret that one of my favorite all-time hi-fi components is the Naim Uniti Atom. I love it. I use it more than any other piece of hi-fi gear we have in-house, and in truth, I think products like the Atom are really the future because they prove that it's possible to get high-end performance from an all-in-one system. So naturally, I'm always excited to see others working to bring similar products to market, but I have to admit, none so far have managed to come close to matching the Atom in both style and substance. Enter the Cambridge Audio Evo 150. But the question that I have is the 150 better than the Atom? Well, subscribe and hit that like button because we're about to find out. The Cambridge Audio Evo 150 is the flagship of the new Evo branded integrated amplifiers. The Evo 75 is visually indistinguishable from the more powerful 150, though if you look around back, you're quickly going to discover their differences. The 150 is a stereo integrated amplifier that boasts 150 watts of power into 8 ohms, courtesy of a Class D Hypex N-Core amplifier. The 150 has 4 sets of binding posts with enough power to drive 2 pairs of loudspeakers. It has built-in ESS Sabre DACs and has support for high-res audio, DSD, and MQA audio files. The Evo 150 has a built-in moving magnet phonostage, balanced and unbalanced analog inputs, preamp outs, and a dedicated subwoofer out, as well as HDMI with ARC. Of course, you get Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, AirPlay 2, as well as Chromecast built in. Now, visually, the Evo is a departure for Cambridge, though they were clever enough to incorporate enough of their design language, specifically cues borrowed from the Edge series, to ensure that the Evo is still a Cambridge piece through and through. One of the most striking elements of the Evo is the design choice to use wood along the amplifier's side. The panels are magnetically attached and can be easily swapped out for black, and I give huge props to Cambridge for giving you both options as standard. While the Evo is definitely Atom-like, it's unique enough visually to stand on its own rather than be an outright copy. The large color screen that dominates the Evo's front panel is bright, it's legible from several feet, though like the Atom, it's not a touchscreen, which is it's just a huge missed opportunity. Instead, the amp is controlled manually through the use of small buttons next to the illuminated icons that they themselves just scream out for you to touch. Volume is controlled via a large volume knob, whereby source selection is handled by the neural silver ring just behind it. And this is totally a feature borrowed from the Edge A integrated. As far as manual operation goes, the Evo is simple enough, it's responsive, and even inviting, but probably not the way most users will interact with it day to day. That interaction is most likely going to fall to the StreamMagic app. Now, the StreamMagic app is the platform that Cambridge uses for all of its newer connected audio products, and I first encountered it when I reviewed the Edge series preamp and streamer, and I quite liked it. It's pretty intuitive to use, it allows for some measure of customization, but more importantly, it lets you interact with most popular music streaming services, as well as your locally stored music without having to leave the app itself. Once I used the StreamMagic app to connect the Evo to my home's internet and wireless devices, I just found that I still preferred the Roon experience with the Evo to that of StreamMagic. But the StreamMagic app is free, whereas Roon is not. If you're at all familiar with European hi-fi brands, I don't need to tell you, but they have a sound, and Cambridge is no different. Also, Cambridge isn't really known for using Class D amplifiers in their products. Instead, they kind of do their own thing with Class AB designs, and this helps give their products their signature sound. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is the Evo 150 is a Class D product, and it sounds like one. One that sounds nothing like the Cambridge products that I am used to. In fact, the Evo 150 borders on being ruthlessly neutral, so depending on what type of listener you are, this could be a good or a bad thing. The Evo does little, if anything, to color the sound of whatever it's connected to. So on the whole, music and movies do not suddenly become different through the Evo, which I have to admit is a bit of a departure for Cambridge, as I would normally classify their sound as leaning towards the warmer or richer side of the spectrum. The Evo's bass is nicely detailed, and it can get whatever speaker it's driving to extend, down towards its limits with a good amount of dynamic snap when called for. But there is no extra emphasis on the bass, so you might feel that the Evo is just a touch light in comparison to true Class AB or even some other Class D amps. I found adding a subwoofer, such as our SVS 3000 Micro, to the mix helped to flesh out the Evo's bottom end just a bit, providing for better grounding of instruments like kick drums not not to mention adding that extra bit of presence to cinematic elements like explosions. The Evo's mid-range is clear. Instruments retain their natural timbre, as do vocals, and both have just terrific focus, not to mention delineation. But since this is not really a warm or lush or otherwise laid-back amp, the mid-range has more of a forward presence than what I've experienced through other Cambridge amps, though please do not mistake my use of the word forward as a negative, or worse, that the Evo is somehow aggressive. The mid-range performance is definitely not in your face, but it does sit more in line with your speaker's front baffles, opposed to sitting, say, back a bit as with other amplifiers. Also, the mid-range doesn't change much as you turn things up, but more importantly, it is incredibly intelligible at lower volumes. Let's talk about the phono preamp for a second. It's good, it's competent, it works with mid-level cartridges, as well as, surprisingly, some higher-end ones like my 2M Black. Now, speaking of the 2M Black, this is not a cartridge that I would classify as warm or romantic, so if you were hoping that vinyl or listening to vinyl was going to somehow kind of warm up the mid-range of the Evo 150, making it more like Cambridge designs that maybe you're used to, that's not really the case. But this is possibly a good thing for some of you, because there really isn't much of a difference, if any, between listening to the same track on vinyl as you do on digital, apart from maybe some minor discrepancies in the SPL when switching between inputs. Which brings me to the high frequencies. First and foremost, they are incredibly detailed and articulate. It is likely you're going to hear some things that other amps otherwise gloss over. And if you're a fan of high resolution music or MQA files, as I am, I think you're going to find that the treble performance of the 150 does not roll off one bit. But it's in the high frequencies that I start to take just a little bit of issue with the Evo's overall sound. When I describe an amplifier to you guys as being dry or lacking in a certain sparkle or sheen, the Evo 150 is the embodiment of that critique. It is an incredibly clinical sound up top, bordering on sterile. So while I appreciate all of the detail and articulation that the amp manages to wring from my speakers, there's just something about its high frequency sound that just doesn't come across as wholly organic. Now, the Evo soundstage is just all about balance, with no real emphasis put on any one aspect of its soundstage rendering. So performances extend, beyond the speaker's boundaries, and they extend back of the front baffles just as much. But it's all very balanced. There's great definition throughout, not to mention strong focus, especially when it comes to vocals. Now, dynamics. Dynamics are good, they're quick, but I wouldn't call them completely explosive, even at high volumes. Dynamics is just one of the areas where the Evo is most like the Cambridge amp sound that I'm used to, whereby it maintains a level of composure even in the face of chaos. Functionally, the Evo 150 is solid. Sure, I would like to see some level of customization and maybe a few more features added to the Stream Magic app down the road, but as it sits, it works as advertised and gives you an experience not unlike what you're going to find with the Naim Uniti Atom at exactly the same price. But that's kind of the problem, because the Naim Uniti Atom is going on 4 years old, and rather than take all of that time in the development of the Evo 150 and give us a better, more robust experience, the designers at Cambridge sort of just did what Naim did from 4 years ago. Case in point, one of my biggest gripes about the Naim Uniti Atom is that front-facing screen that it has, as beautiful as it is not a touchscreen. Instead, you have these illuminated icons and buttons that you get to push, when we all know that an iPhone-like interface would have been preferable. And, well, the designers at Cambridge didn't give us a touchscreen either. In fact, their hard buttons are even more difficult to discern because they rest next to illuminated icons that your brain just wants to touch, and instead, you can't. Which makes me think that the designers at Cambridge wanted you to think that the Evo had a touchscreen when it doesn't. And it's that familiarity with the Evo that is my biggest issue with it. I happen to think it looks great, and I applaud the new design language, and I really hope that Cambridge keeps it up, as they've always really led in that department, but just everything else about living with the Evo 150 just sort of feels kind of been there and done that. So the real question is, would I switch from my Naim Uniti Atom to the Evo 150? No, I wouldn't. I get that the Evo is more powerful, but when listening to music through the same speakers, it's the Atom that felt like it had more grunt. And I get that the Atom isn't as neutral, but it's also not as clinical, and I like that. I much prefer the way my favorite tracks sound through the Atom over that of the Evo. Now, I really like that the Evo includes a dedicated phono preamp as well as a subwoofer output, as these are two things that I would totally welcome on my Uniti Atom, but it's not like I can't run subwoofers off the Atom either. I can run a pair of subs off the preamp outputs on the Uniti Atom, and if you have a turntable with a built-in phono preamp like the Cambridge Audio Alva TT, well, it's going to sound great connected to the Uniti Atom's analog input. But that's just me. But if you're on the market for a smart integrated amplifier like the Atom or the Evo 150, I think you owe it to yourself to listen to them both, because they are great examples of the breed, so to speak, and your taste may differ from mine, and you could prefer the Evo over that of the Atom. But if you already own a product like this, say for instance the Atom or even an NAD M10 or M33, I'm just not 100% sure that the Evo 150 does enough to entice you guys to want to switch. Now, what if you don't own any of these? Which is better, the Uniti Atom, the Evo 150, or maybe the NAD M10 or M33? Sadly, I can't give you this answer definitively, as I have not heard the M10 or M33 from NAD, so sorry. I hope to bring you those reviews soon. But if you're intrigued by the idea of like this smart all-in-one integrated amplifier kind of game, you can do it on a budget with the ARYLIC A50 or the S50 Pro with your choice of amplifier. And either of these products are actually going to get you a lot of the way there in terms of features and functionality, but you're obviously going to give up a lot in terms of design and build quality with those options over the Evo 150. And then of course there's the BLUESOUND Power Node 2i, which is good. It has a lot in common with the Evo 150. I happen to prefer the 150 over the BLUESOUND, but I understand the Evo is $2,000 more expensive, and that's a lot of coin. So to wrap it up, what do I think of the Cambridge Audio Evo 150? Well, I think it's a gorgeous piece of industrial design, and I think that it likely accomplishes the end result that the designers at Cambridge Audio were looking to achieve, and that was to just build a very competent and competitive all-in-one smart integrated amplifier, whereby the only thing that the end user really has to worry about is what speakers to pair with it. And to that end, I think they have succeeded. While its sound may not have been what I was used to or maybe even prefer, the bigger issue that I think the Evo 150 has, and maybe even the Evo 75, is it different enough to differentiate itself from an already crowded marketplace? Well, with that said, this is where the conversation gets kind of interesting. So what does Christy think?
I really think it depends on if you've had experiences with any of these other products. Okay. Your last statement or question is, does the Evo stand out from the crowd? We are at a bit of an advantage because we've likely experienced a lot more of these products than the average person is going to be able to claim, right? So for me, and I think for you, no, it really doesn't stand out, unfortunately. But for somebody else, they're going to be looking at it from much fresher eyes with fewer experiences to possibly influence their decision or their feelings about the product. I mean, I guess you could really say that with just about anything we do here.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So in that respect, I think that I can see just about any number of possible outcomes when it comes to what is someone else going to think about the Evo.
Okay, that's fair.
But for me personally, I personally don't think it differentiates itself enough from the Atom to make it it certainly isn't. I don't think either of us came away from this experience going, "Oh wow, we finally found something to knock off the reigning king."
Yeah,
and I think we were maybe hoping for that experience, or hopeful that maybe there's something out there that's going to surprise us in the way that the the Atom did, I think, initially, and that clearly didn't happen. And I think you are 100% right on. And I am just as baffled as to, here we are. And to be frank, like, I didn't even realize the name was
4 years old.
The Atom was 4 years old.
Yeah.
Now, once I found that out, it really, really changed my opinion about the Evo. I'm with you. I'm like, I really feel like there's just a lot of missed opportunities here.
Yeah.
And I'm left to wonder why they've made just certain decisions. Like, why isn't there a touchscreen? Now, if you're going to tell me that the touchscreen is too costly, I don't know that I would have, for me, I would have preferred the as some, like, a compromise. Like, okay, well, give me the 75, like the lesser power, because clearly the Atom is less powerful.
Oh, it's way less powerful.
And more than capable of driving many speakers we have come in for review.
Yeah.
So I don't think power is the issue here.
Yeah.
So, like I said, let's compromise. Give me less power, which I have to assume is a cost factor, right? And give me the touch screen.
Yeah.
If cost per, or what do you call it? Like
Landed cost.
Landed cost is the
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Let's split the difference.
Well, and see, I'm not gonna say BS on that, because landed cost is an important factor. But look, if this was a Class AB amplifier like the Atom, I get where you're going. Give me less power, because there's more parts, there's more components. But this is an Encore off. I don't want to say off the shelf. I don't know if Cambridge customized it or had certain things built to their spec. But this is someone else's platform, amplifier wise, that is meant to be purchased off the rack, if you will. Maybe you can customize a few things. Obviously, there are other things that go into it, but going Class D is a size and cost saving measure. And so whether you go to the 75 or you stick with the 150, I still think that there was room to do a touchscreen. And the reason why I say that is because the NAD T778 and the NAD M10 and the NAD M33, we're all talking relatively around this price point. I think the T778 it's a little over $3,000, and that's a home theater receiver. That does way more than the Evo 150. And even if it's $300-400 more, that's not entirely sucked up by the touchscreen. But I'm going to argue that you could charge $3,500 for an Evo if it had a touchscreen.
Oh, I totally agree. I think so. I mean, I am a little, makes me scratch my head at why this is priced at where it's at, considering what we know about Class D amplifiers being a little bit more affordable in some respects. I mean, I get that it's the design of the Cambridge, like every other Cambridge piece we've ever had, is top notch. So they are giving you, not only are they giving you something superbly designed and well built, their packing material is almost untouchable in this industry. You're getting, like, you don't have to worry about when you order this online and it shows up to your door, it's going to be intact. It's not going to be broken. Yeah. Because they pack the crap out of their stuff.
I am going to go on record as saying that I think Cambridge and Focal right now are in a league all their own when it comes to that premium experience.
And that goes for no matter what price point.
Yeah.
Because we have those cheaper Cambridge pieces in-house.
Oh, my God.
And they are just as well packaged.
Yeah. So, Cambridge.
Major props.
Yeah.
That you're treating your customer, no matter whether you've got, a small budget or you are all the way up to your Edge series. Well, there's a few differences. But
you can see that the care. There's a lot of care.
The through line is the same.
Exactly.
If you're familiar with acting terms. But
exactly.
I highly appreciate those things from Cambridge. Now, I know it's been a little bit of time since we've last had a Cambridge amp in the house. I think that one of the last things we reviewed was...
It was the Edge.
The Edge series, which I didn't like. And I thought beyond it being just outright beautifully designed and just like, wow, this is a piece of art in your house, bored to tears and expensive. So for me...
I disagree a little bit.
I know,
on that.
you really liked it. You really liked it.
No. I liked the Edge preamp and streamer. I could have done without the amplifiers. I was with you. I actually thought that the Edge preamp streamer paired well with anything. And I would, to this day, I still kind of wish I had hung on to that particular piece. The amplifiers, acquired taste. Totally understand. I too can be a little bit hit or miss with their amps.
Where I was surprised, and this could only happen because we review stuff, is that we just so happen to get the Evo and those two other far more budget-friendly Cambridge pieces. They came at pretty much the same time,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So the point I was going to make about that is that while I am not typically like the biggest fan of Cambridge's sound, like I could pretty much tell you can put up a series of different brands of amps, integrated, and like Denon, I'm probably not going to pick the Cambridge over something else that's a little bit more lively. It's just not my brand, right? But now when it came to those two lesser expensive Cambridge amps, which I know are Class A, B designs, I actually preferred that to the Evo, and felt in a way that those two amps were a slight departure from what I remember as what I would say is the traditional or classic Cambridge audio sound.
You want to know why?
I think the Evo sounds exactly like what you would expect Cambridge to sound like.
Oh no.
Beyond the clinical parts of it, I think that laid back sound is completely present in the Evo.
I can tell you probably definitively or beyond a shadow of a doubt why you prefer the cheaper Cambridges to even say the CXA 81 and the Evo 150 is the Evo 150 is Class D. That's a new thing for Cambridge. The CXA 61 and 81, I believe, and the Edge are kind of Cambridge's take on Class AB. It's kind of their flavor of Class AB, whereas this cheaper stuff, it's straight dyed-in-the-wool Class AB. They're not doing any funny stuff with it.
So I am hearing something different.
You are hearing something different.
And to me, I like it better.
You are
and I would prefer...
I mean this with all of the love and the respect in my heart.
Hit me with it.
Because you know I love you, but you are a Class AB bitch.
I'm going to make that a t-shirt.
You
okay?
are a Class
Just letting
AB.
you know, other channels, I know you're watching. That
That's
shit's
mine.
copyrighted. You cannot use it or I will come for you.
But I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, you are either a pure Class A, you really like pure Class A, but if you don't want to spend the money for Class A, because most of the time when Class A comes in this house, you're like, what is that? And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty nice. You're like, how much is it? And I'm like, oh, it's, unobtainium. And you're like, who wants to pay that? And then here comes an AB amp, and you're like, hey, well, that sounds pretty close to that. How much is that? Oh, it's about $4. And you're like, now we're talking.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. So yeah, you definitely, I cannot recall a single Class D amplifier, Class H, Class G, any of those, or variation, or even hybrid, Class AB, Class D, or I'm sorry, not Class AB, Class D, but hybrid amplifier design. You've never picked it. You've never picked it.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I think
I just don't. I don't like neutrality.
You don't.
I don't like it in my speakers, and I don't like it in my amps.
Nope. You like a bit of tone. You like a bit of tone. You like a bit of richness down low, and you like that. You like that sheen. You can sit there and roll your eyes at me when I'm saying the reviews and writing the
sparkle.
Yeah,
the sparkle's
she's like
magical.
She's like, I don't know what that means, and yet you like it.
We just need to come up with another
word,
another metaphor.
Okay, but yeah, that would that to me. You guys are free to weigh in on why you think she thinks this, but that is why I think the cheaper AB products from Cambridge you prefer.
I can't wait for my t-shirt.
So that's it. That is our review of the Cambridge Audio Evo 150 Smart Integrated Amplifier. What did you guys think? Let us know down in the comments below. And my question of the day for you is this. Who currently makes the best all-inclusive integrated amplifier on the market right now? Let us know down in the comments. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Be sure to ring that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. And if you used any of the links that Christy left for you down below, know that that is just a great way that you have continued to show your support for this channel and the work that we do here. And we both thank you all very much. Follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile. And I've started trying posting to YouTube stories. It's just kind of a way to share some behind the scenes video clips and pictures with you. So if you're on your mobile device, if you go to our channel and you click on my face, I think you're going to see the story. So just kind of keep an eye out for some of those. And a couple of quick shout outs. First, when this airs, it's going to be Mother's Day, and it's a very important Mother's Day because many of you know my mom was in the hospital, the ICU, as a matter of fact, and she is now home and she is recovering. It was very day to day, minute to minute there for a minute, but she will be okay. And I thank you all, every last one of you on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everybody that shared your thoughts and sent just as much positivity her way as possible. It made a difference and it mattered and it was very touching. So thank you and happy Mother's Day to my mom and to all the moms out there. Also, today is Saturday when we're recording this, and happy birthday to Darren Hayes, who is probably recovering from his second vaccine shot, which is not how you want to spend your birthday. But happy birthday, Darren. Christy and I thank you very much for being such a good friend and helping us through this crazy year. So happy birthday, Darren. And that is it. So remember, the only person who has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.